Live, brother to brother. Boom, let's get it.
All right, now, just wait a minute because it's going to take a while for me to see it. I need to make sure that it's live and then
Okay.
minutes we'll get started.
Okay, well, we live on Periscope right now. Hotel Griot next. This your man, Amon Rashidi, a.k.a. Papa Raw. First of all, I want to say, hey, Hotep to everybody out here on Periscope. I'm just learning the process. As you all can see, we kind of taking our time trying to get it done. But we're going to be talking about, in small terms, the election and what's going on. And I know some of you all, as we get together for our brother-to-brother on the conference call, before someone else calls in, to just sit down and think about what's going on with us with the election. And every time there's time for an election, they're going to be at the churches, the politicians are going to be at the churches, they're going to symbolically try to address some of your issues by doing little community service announcements or doing their little election process. But what ends up happening is you get ignored. You get so many promises during this election year, but once they are elected, you really get nothing. And I know now everybody's saying, well, I got $5 from this person and they're getting small amounts of money. Well, President Barack Obama got small amounts of money and got elected by the quote, unquote, masses of people. But yet and still, how we have benefited as black people. I'm not trying to criticize nobody. I'm just looking at the dynamics of how the system is affecting us right now and asking the question, is this shit really benefiting us? Excuse my language, but I'm just trying to be real about it. Look, if every 28 hours, we're talking about a system has to be fractured. I'm saying a system has to be fractured. If every 28 hours a young black male is killed unarmed by a white officer, every 28 hours, and you're not going to even, and then when Donald Trump was asked the question using that statistical data, his response was, well, I support the police. Well, what about the citizens who pay the taxes so the police can supposedly serve and protect us? Look, here at Griot Nation, we don't want to see anybody hurt. But last but not least, we don't want to be citizens to be looked at as suspects. And that's how I feel. If I live in America, I feel like I'm a suspect before I'm a citizen. That you got to question whether I've done something wrong, whether I'm serving my public duty. And look, we know right now, if you want to address some of the issues that we're facing, we go to jail for 2 times more often than my white counterpart for committing the same crime. That means that if we commit the same crime, I'm 10 times more likely to go to prison and go do 2 more times more than you. Now, does that make sense to you? And when you start looking at what is happening, I told you all a long time ago, when we started talking about this thing when President Bush had a program, I forget, No Child Left Behind. And we were in New Jersey and New York. And we were meeting with all the politicians. Everybody was talking about, well, No Child Left Behind is a good program. It was a great program with no money. Why are you going to have a great program and don't have no money? Then it's not a program.
Right.
It's a prop. You're playing with us. If we just wake up for 1 minute and see that we're being used, if you go back historically and you used to see in the medieval periods, and you see people all out in the villages, but you saw the kings and queens lived, and then when they want to sign a decree or they wanted something to be changed, they would travel down to the village and talk to the people. And you look back and you look like, oh, that's so medieval. But that's the way it is right now. We look like the police look like an occupying army. And I know every police officer is not bad, just like every teacher is not bad. But check this out. Every time you talk about black folks, we get wailed all there in together. Legislation is not going to change that. These are some of the things that we're going to have to do by having an agenda of our own to address the systemic issues that are affecting us right now with a system that I feel is broken.
Indeed.
But anyway, I think we should be about ready. I just wanted to kind of give my preference on that part. And what's up, Periscope? Let's talk about the election.
What's happening? I mean, what we're talking about is posturing, pandering, and the putrid.
We own it. Hold tight, y'all. Our promo is hitting right about now. I'm hoping to hear how loud that. Can you hear it? Hoping you guys can hear that. Okay. Hotel Griot Nation, once again, this is your man, Amon Rashidi, a.k.a. Papa Raw, and welcome to Brother to Brother. We say we are the conscious corner where the conscious community hangs out, but guess what? Everybody's invited. No frills, no thrills, y'all. We're just keeping it real, so consequently, we got to keep the Griot Nation excited. And by Griot Nation, we mean the storytellers. We mean the forward-thinking. We mean the 13th member of the tribe who's taking an individual responsibility to take responsibility for himself, his family, and his life wherever he or she lives. with that being the case, we're talking about the election, 2016 election, and PG can kind of break out some of the terminology.
There's a lot of P's in this, but we're talking about the posturing, the pandering, and the putrefaction of the political process. That's what we're talking about.
Okay,
posturing.
Let's get the putrefaction. I think everybody
putrefaction, putrid, funky, rancid. I mean, we're talking about a man standing on stage talking about the size of his penis,
compared to his hand,
implying, that he's virile. We're talking about what I've observed in the past 20 years is just people going to new heights or new lows, if you would, in attacking their opponents in the name of getting elected. So that's the putrefaction part. The posturing is, like Papa Rob said, when they come into our churches, when they come into our communities once every 4 years, and they put on this mask of civility, so that they can get our votes. The pandering is much of the same. You're coming in, you're courting us, and you're saying, we're going to do this and we're going to do that, but what we're getting in the end is a lot of broken promises, a lot of broken and unfulfilled promises. So, Papa Rob, I'm going to let you, lead into this or piggyback on that, however you choose to do it. We're going to get it popping.
Well, at the end of the day, when someone is coming to your community and asking you for your vote, that means they're coming in and asking you for something. The question you got to ask yourself is, what do you get in exchange? You're just going to get promises? Historically, have you voted for someone and you can look back and think about the things that you said that they said that they were going to do, that they promised you? Did you see those promises get fulfilled? Normally, they get lost in the loop. How are you going to make promises if you're going to be the first president, or you the first time you become a president and you don't know anything about the office itself? You got to at least figure out the process to see if you're going to be able to do these things. And if I was someone from a foreign country and I just happened to drop in America, as much as we say we love America, and I heard the Republican Party and the Democratic Party going at each other, I would think that this country was big, was divided and about to go into a civil war. And here's the other question. The hypocrisy of it is when I hear somebody like, Donald Trump saying some of the silly things that he says, and I think he does that for effect. But even with that being the effect, with that being the case, when he says it, somebody on the party called him a con and said that he should be running the country. Somebody called him a hustler, called him all kind of names. But now all of a sudden, Christie, the same guy who called him all these names, now you backing him. Were you lying at first? So we'll talk about each other real bad in the politics, and then all of a sudden you will yield once he gets the position, hoping that you'll be the vice president.
And that's part of that posturing element.
Yeah, it's
so he was posturing.
Right.
If you come out on one hand and you're calling him a con, but now you rolling with him side by side, that's posturing. That's political posturing. So, what we need to do is we need to become more educated about the political process itself. So, I'm just going to give it from a layman's perspective. I'm not claiming to be a political pundit, political scientist, or anything. But so from a layman's perspective, this is the way I understand it. We have Democrats and we have Republicans. These are the major two parties in America. Each year, every 4 years, there is an election, and whichever of these parties wins the election, then the policies and the ideologies of that particular party is what moves the nation forward for the next 4 years. Okay, so what I've been noticing is, I'll term them schools of thought. Okay, so you got conservatives on one side and you have liberals on the other side. Republicans tend to be conservative, liberals tend to be, or Democrats tend to be liberal. So every year, pretty much since I was a child, I've always heard the same 5 major topics that they talk about. So we're going to talk about gun control, abortion rights, foreign policy, the economy, and that last topic that we're talking about is, it slips in my mind at the moment, but I'm gonna get back to you because it's the same old every year. So you got the Republicans or the conservatives. They're saying, okay, we want to have our Second Amendment right to bear arms. Self-preservation is the first law of nature. So quite naturally, they see a firearm an extension of self-preservation so that they can protect their livelihood, that they can protect their property. While the liberals, on the other hand, or the Democrats, they feel like, okay, we need to have a little bit more restriction on guns in society, so they're pretty much pushing the gun control component. Then when we get down to the abortion, same-sex marriage, that was that number 5. Same-sex marriage, that was number 5 that I was talking about, that keeps on popping up over and over again. But when we get to the abortion, the Republicans are more from the school of thought that, hey, you knew what the consequences were when you laid down to potentially create that child. You carry that child to full term. So we're not into abortion. Well, while the liberals and the Democrats are saying, well, it should be a woman's right as to whether or not she wants to bring that life into the world. Okay, so we got we got that, and now we got a whole lot of debating on, what is a child? When does the fetus actually evolve into a human being? And now we're talking about when is it too late to have an abortion, if we're going to have an abortion at all. Then when we deal with the same-sex marriage issue, okay, we're looking at the Republicans are saying, look, marriage is a holy union between man and wife. It's a sacred union between those two, and that's all it is. And the Democrats or the liberals are saying, well, we don't want to be too judgmental, and we want to expand that to include a man if he wants to love a man and be in a lifelong union with a man, or a woman if she wants to love a woman. So I'm going to say that these are the major issues, including the foreign policy and the economy, which basically Republicans have a kick door tactic. On the foreign policy, we just gonna come to your country, we gonna subdue you and take your shit. The Democrats are pretty much saying, okay, we just gonna backdoor you and we gonna swindle you out of your shit. On the the economy, Republicans are pretty much up in your face. If you got money, we're going to keep this money train. We're going to keep this gravy train rolling. We don't really give a shit about you and your poverty and your issues. And the Democrats are pretty much saying, yeah, we're going to throw you a bone. We do care about you, but nothing ever happens. So Papa Ra, with those just laying those basic fundamental points out, what's really happening?
Quickly for me, we are in survival rights. I don't care what they tell you all. Let me rewrite the narrative of everything that you all been hearing in reference to politics. Don't let someone else come to you and use millions of dollars they got from you and from corporations to tell you what your problem is and how they're going to fix that problem for you. They haven't asked you one time. They haven't done any surveys. It's just a mock move for them to get in a symbolic position. And all of them, whether they're Republican or whether they're Democrat, whether they're liberal or conservative, or whether they're middle of the road, I don't care what it is, it's all a philosophy. One of the things that you made me think about is what I call simplified reality. They simplify the reality of the working class man and woman. Let me tell you what, out of all the things you just heard PGC say, it comes down to these 3 things. Fucking food, clothing, and shelter. Those are the fundamentals. Everybody's going to come in the office and say, I'm going to do more jobs. And we're yet to see that. Everybody's going to come in and talk about we're going to lower taxes. Well, they are for the rich. There are things that are not only symbolically happening, but literally are happening every election year. We get these promises, and we get in arguments about what we feel like President Barack Obama did and what we feel like he didn't do. But look, nobody's going to come in and redirect an empire. Did you argue what I said? America's an empire. Nobody's just going to get in office based off public sentiment and public vote. And that's why you got the Electoral College, because it's all a hustle at the end of the day. So I'm saying, as we address this, realize that we're dealing with survival rights right now. We're trying to survive. 1 in 3 of us is on probation, parole, or going to jail, or coming out of jail. I said 1 in 3. We have double-digit unemployment and have had it since we've been in this country. The only time we never had double-digit employment is when we were enslaved. We've never had a graduation rate on a national level beyond 50% in any particular city or state. Are you kidding me?
Wow. And
we still make less than, I think, 50 cents on a dollar of what a white man makes. And look, you all, and the whole hustle about even when women came from the standpoint of a minority, that's because primarily Anglo women got into a position, and what did you do? You save money. You start getting 50 cents on the dollar because you paid, even the white woman, you paid her 50 cents on the dollar of what you made. And and y'all ain't looked at the sexism. We talking about racism. Look at the sexism. Women, you ain't asked the questions. Why ain't never been a woman could run this country? You mean a woman could have every man who's run this, every president came through a woman womb, but not one of you all can run a country? Are you kidding me?
You got to look at that. But I'm gonna say this, goddamn it, Hillary Clinton is not the woman to run this country. I'm gonna just tell you that right off the top. She is a viper of the worst type. Yeah, you can say what you want to say, but fuck it, I'm gonna put it out there because that's who I am. She is a straight up viper.
Well, we know you're going to hear something.
What you want.
Well, I tell you this, you're going to hear something on that because we know as a whole that black folks have always liked the Democratic Party. I'm from Arkansas, been watching the Clinton since I was in school. Saw him become a mayor, not a mayor, excuse me, but a governor at 28 years old. And you was wondering why he was catting around. Give somebody that kind of power. 28 years old and you a governor.
28?
He was at 28 years old, Bill Clinton was a governor. They took him out of Hope, Arkansas around 14 to 15. He went up there as a Rhodes Scholar to the UK. So they took care. They knew what this guy was going to be all along the way. So with that, we know these things always happen. In our community, it's understood that Bill Clinton dated black women, got black children. It was understood in our community when we were growing up that Hillary Clinton was a lesbian at the time.
Now this man is from the community, and what he is saying pretty much is substantiated by all of the reports, by people who have done research on these people. So let me qualify the statement of a viper.
Well, before you said viper, I said that to get to this point. I'm not knocking either one of them. I'm telling you that myself. I'm telling you at the end of the day, when we give you information, it's up to you. I can frantically love her. He can adamantly hate her. You could be middle of the road. But in our discussion, something will come out that will make you make a sound choice other than just listening to what they're saying. Because depending upon who you ask, some people love her to death and some people hate her. Then some people are middle of the road. Some of you love Bernie Sanders. But I'm going to ask you, I don't believe either one of them are going to be beneficial to us until we start getting an agenda of our own and do something for ourselves collectively.
I believe that. I really do believe that. In Hillary Clinton, she's got the posture of the nice, sweet old white woman. But this is not a nice, sweet old white woman. This woman was in bed with the man who locked up more black people than any other president in the history of the United States. The 3 strikes, the mandatory minimum, all of that stuff, all of those things came under his reign, the first Clinton reign. And he blew the saxophone, and we said he had soul. Now Hillary Clinton is doing the nay-nay with Roland Martin. Hey man, how simple?
I have not seen that.
Come on, man. How simple can we be? And these people are
President
endearing.
Barack Obama sang Amazing Grace after 9 people were killed. 1 was a sitting senator, so it looked like this singing and entertainment is what they use against.
Yeah, I mean, come on, man. Is this what we're doing? We're allowing these people to play on our emotions and heartstrings and dance their way into our hearts and steadily, not speak when our children are left lying dead in the street. In fact, I have a text right now, and it says, I'm missing brother to brother today. Missed the call today. Brianna's best friend was shot and killed an hour ago. This kind of stuff is going on in our city, in our midst, and there is no help coming for us. And that's in the hood, to my understanding, probably black on black crime. We don't know the full dynamics. Rest in peace to whoever this person is.
Let's say this when you said that. We've changed the narrative on Griot Nation when we say somebody's black. We don't use. We're working on getting away from black on black crime. We're calling it now domestic violence.
Yes.
You know why? Because psychologically, when you use the word black, we don't gravitate to it. We lose sympathy. We lose empathy. We lose everything when it comes to us. So when it's something domestic, that means it's at home. That means that when your brother kills another brother, that's domestic. That's stuff that is happening in your home. And what we got to do is we got to change that narrative. I watched day before yesterday a man come in a store, since you said it's about crime, come into the store. I'm talking to the sister up front. It was a Hispanic guy who was standing there. We were just talking about the election, something that Donald Trump had said. And I saw the guy just walk out the door. And I didn't think nothing about it. He had 2 big 24 cases of beer. I really didn't think nothing about it. When he walked out, shortly after he walked out, I walked out. and he was kind of walking fast, and I saw the girl come out to him, come back here, come back here. And I'm getting in the truck, and she ran, she kicked one of the cases, he just looked at it, kept walking, she kept kicking it, then she kicked him. I said, oh, whoa, 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 that's a sister. He's stealing. I said, sister, don't lose your life trying to protect somebody else's property.
Crazy.
You know, so I'm just saying these are just simplistic dynamics that are happening. Now, before we just say he was a hardened thief, I could look at the brother and tell, because I went around the corner and saw him and some other homeless guy. I know this guy has some psychological issues. And we have to understand, during the Reagan era, what did we do? Almost 47% of these so-called psychological hospitals were shut down, and these crazy people, or what we call people who had psychological issues, were put on the streets.
And she got psychological issues, too.
Who's this?
Whoever that was who was chasing that man. I'll be damned.
Well, I'm going to tell you what she got. She got the propaganda that said she was going to be a good worker and she's going to defend the integrity of her job. That's what that looked like. I'm just trying to be real with you. Because when I was talking to her, she had told me about her 2 kids and you know, how, you know, she wanted somebody to get in the office. And when she came back, I pulled back around and I went in the store. I said, listen to me, baby girl. And I said the name of the store. I said, no matter what happens, what's stolen, they got insurance. Can't nobody insure your life. You told me you had 2 children, baby. You got to be mindful for what you defended. So she was a good sister, but she bought into what? The propaganda. Working hard in America. Defending integrity. And if she had lost her life, no one would have been the other wiser of it. We would have just probably been talking about it.
Well, can we agree to
disagree
that was temporary insanity? You know, hey, I wish the hell I would chase somebody down over a case of beer. You know, hey, I done been, you know, held up at gunpoint. Hey, take this shit, man. It ain't none of it mine. Okay, that's really what it is, man.
But that goes back to our point in how we deal with everyday living. My daughter gets her arm broke, goes to the hospital, and has to go through changes, even though she supposedly has a good job, all right, and has insurance, even though we have Obamacare. And if you don't have enough money, you're supposed to have Medicare, but she has a $4,000 deduction. Are you kidding me? Wow. And then you send her home and then just go back and forth with pandering with her with a broken arm. Look, either you make too much money to have Medicaid, or you don't make enough money to be a part of the Obamacare. I know many people I've talked to about that. Many people who've gone through changes and got kicked out the system. And check this out, but we're still being fined for it. Every year, I'm being penalized for not having insurance that I need. So I'm saying all these are political issues that we're facing. But no one is addressing the high school dropout rate of young African-American males, the double-digit employment rate that we're dealing with, prison industrial complex, dealing with the prison-to-school pipeline. Now, all of that's being discussed in the political arena, but not much is being done.
You know, it's not necessarily an issue of pride, but I will say, for lack of a better word, we pride ourselves on being solution-oriented. And right now, the solutions to our issues as Black Americans, Americans in general, but Black Americans specifically, is that we do for ourselves. You know, our solutions, none of these problems that have been enumerated will be solved by this system. We have to understand that this system was created by a white supremacist mind, white and supremacy. So in other words, and when you deal with terms like status quo, that means that these things are to remain in place. So if America had it her way, then we would always be at the bottom of the totem pole. And this is the reality. You know, I use some harsh words against Hillary Clinton, but guess what? She used harsh words against Black people, calling us super predators. When was this? Predators. Oh, this was during this is when she was in her 40s, when she still was kind of fly, you know. Yeah, she termed us super predators, and that was that was in the midst of the legislation of the 3 strikes and and the mandatory minimums. So what these people have done, I mean, come on, man, let's be for real. You got judges. You got judges who understand white supremacy, and they are locking brothers up for 40 and 50 years. They locking 18 and 19-year-old boys up for 40 and 50 years. Not for robbery. I mean, for robbery. Okay, we gonna punish you. You know what I mean? Because I'm not advocating any type of crime, any type of violent crime, any type of domestic violence, any type of any type of theft, any type of whatever. If it's a crime, it's a crime. So we're not advocating that. But when you start throwing basketball numbers at our boys, at our babies, these are babies. That young 17-year-old is some mother's baby. That's some father's baby who they not going to see ever again. And then when you talk about the conditions that exist in these penitentiaries, come on, man. You 17 years old, you 16 years old, you going into a maximum security prison for being a product of your environment. And I had a discussion with a young lady last night, and she was talking about, this sister, she's obviously well educated, and, she said, well, I think it's about choices. So, okay, yeah, let's break it down. Okay, you talking about the choices. Now, if you understand what a product of your environment is, and if you understand what the status quo, and if you understand what norms are, okay, well, the norm is that in every household, there's going to be 3 televisions, okay? So we all grew up watching TV. That's 99% of the American population. But what is on TV? What are we seeing? What type of images are we seeing that are promoting the wellness, the mental wellness, and the mental health for young black children? If you always see the white boy, the white man, the white girl in the hero or heroine role, the standard of beauty, the epitome of strength, and the one with all of the smarts, then by default you're telling that black child basically you ain't shit. Well,
maybe you're telling them that you got to look a certain way in order and act a certain way to be in that position. And that manifests itself in when we do act in that manner, since we'll paraphrase as being ghettos and someone else paraphrases being different, as we call you're acting white. And all those are based off what we call conditioning, because it's a propaganda machine. Someone else is defining your reality for you. We've said at Griot Nation, what you see reflects what you feel reflects what you think dictates how you act, and how you act will dictate how people react to you. Well, if he's saying that we watch television a lot, well, we know statistics bear witness, because we're looking for a reality outside of our own. And many times if the father is missing and 65 to 70% of our children are latchkey kids, what do you think they're doing? They don't have to necessarily be on TV. They can have this here right now. And they got access to the world in their hands right now.
And that's what, yes, sir.
So our children exposed to many things. And something else he said in reference to crime. We know crime, crime, depending on whatever the status of crime, is always committed the same in each community. People talk about there's high crime in the black community. There's high crime in every community. And normally it's perpetuated by the people who look just like you. Rarely do black people go over injure, hurt, kill, rape, or maim white people. That's very rarely. But it's not rare for you to cross the line and do the same to us. So these are things that we have to look at. So people calling us predatorial, but we don't go out and hurt anybody else but us. So we know that there are things we have to work on, but we're part of the American system as well. Here's the other one. If rape is a crime, it's more than just a crime, it's an experience. So if that means you got a lot of crime going on, that means you got a lot of dysfunction, that means you got a lot of, what I want to say, post-traumatic stress. Because if you have that many women that are being raped, that are being beat, that are going through domestic violence, you're going through life functioning as you're normal, going through dysfunctional norms at home. Look at the high rate of domestic violence. Look at the high rate of divorce rate that we have. This affects the behavior of people, particularly if you're poor and living in an impoverished community. We have ignored the fact, because all of us feel like we don't want to be ashamed, that there is no more middle class. You know you don't live like you used to. You know you can't ball like you used to. We drive in cars that we can't afford so we can impress people who don't even give a damn about us. That is something that we have to work on. And the only way we're going to do it is do it together as groups. The election is a time that when issues come up, we can at least address our issues and see if there is some form of legislation that can contribute to what we are already doing.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. I'm glad you brought it back around to the election. I mean, it's all relative. Whether we're talking about social issues. Social issues stem from political ineptness. So social and political issues are really, they're tied together. So let's look at the candidates in the Republican Party.
They catching all the news right now. That's because you know what, they got theater now.
Yeah, that's
this is
political
theater.
theater at its finest. I mean,
Yes,
and I'll be honest with you. Like I said, I'm not a political pundit or politics. I'm not immersed in politics like that. But I will say, I watched the last Republican debate. I watched one of them, and I was thoroughly entertained. I was entertained from beginning to end. I mean, it was like reality show at its finest.
Now think of what he just said. He said it was like reality show at its
reality
finest.
TV at its finest.
And go back to O.J. Simpson. That's the first time he actually saw a courtroom for at least almost a year and 2 months. Take off primetime TV to show you the courtroom. After that, we had reality court. Then we started having reality TV. So now we got a reality TV guy who is running for president.
Yes, for president. I mean, this is mockery, man. You know, I mean, this is absolute mockery.
Hey, man, it's part of the propaganda machine.
You know, O.J. Simpson, speaking of the O.J. Simpson in reality TV.
They're running it now.
This man, the O.J. Simpson trial generated $1 billion for the economy. And if you don't think that these people study these numbers and they base...
Go ahead.
And they base their next move on what these numbers dictate, you are sadly mistaken. We have to be real with it. You know, so that's Nancy Grace, Greta Van Susteren, Mark Furman.
Oh, I forgot about Furman.
Kim Kardashian. You know that Kim Kardashian is a product of O.J. Simpson? Well, because his daddy, Robert Kardashian, was one of the lawyers. You would not have heard of the Kardashians had it not been for O.J. Simpson in that case shining the light on that name. So, man, I'm telling you, the rabbit hole goes deep. But we're gonna get right back down to the front runners in the Republican Party.
Let's go to the Trump. You know, the building of the fence, the insulters, they are rapists. Let's look at the narrative. First of all, it's distracting. So what's going to happen is, since it's distracting, you're not going to focus on the real issues that you're having. You're going to be entertained through the propaganda, and you're going to be entertained all the way through the propaganda while other things are happening in other places. While they're going through this election, we're still getting killed every 28 hours. We're still dying in some of their own ignorance in our own hands. We're still losing money in our economy. We're still having young boys who are still dropping out of school. I can tell you now, between the hours of 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock, that's when most of our children are going to try something for the first time. I can tell you Thursday through Sunday from 11 o'clock to 3 o'clock, that's when most of the crimes are going to be committed. The bulk of most of the murders and many of the other tragic crimes are going to occur during the summer. So we know when they happen. But austerity says we're taking away all the money from all the programs. You see austerity going on all over the world. Just draw money from social programs, but still bail out the rich or bail out the wealthy. What does that put us in? That put us in survival mode. So now we're fighting for survival rights. Everybody is talking to us, but we're not talking to each other. Have you wondered that why there's no more Black Talk Radio? Have you wondered why we don't own networks, we don't own magazines? We've conceded to the American system, but we're still being mistreated and not being treated as, so we're being treated as 3/5 of a human. It's our responsibility. We are a nation, we say, regardless of what people do to you, you are still responsible for what you do for you. So where is our agenda? I believe the next time we come about, we'll bring an agenda that we had placed forward, that we've had for a long time. We call it the National Agenda for Black Children. And so we can start addressing some of these issues. The prisoner pipeline issue we're addressing with, the over rate of incarceration rate, not just that, but how our children are given these pharmaceutical drugs, not by accident, but by design. And these certain drugs procure certain behavior. So that means that what you can do is you can predict the behavior and already be ready for it. Look, we know by the time they get to the 4th grade, most black boys are no longer want to be in school. 90% of the group follow, only 2% lead. And if that's the case, the black male is always going to be the dominant male in the school. They're going to always keep him there, whether he is in the prison or whether he's on the football field. Here's the other thing to think about. When we talked about Missouri, how we tie all this in. These colleges, you all, are destroying our children financially. They come out broke. More than cars, more than anything else, your college education is destroying our children. So college is getting higher, but the cost of living is getting higher, but the wages aren't going up. And what ends up happening, you get out of these schools and you're in debt. And now they're starting to garnish your check after 6 months of you getting out of school. Not to mention places like Mississippi and Alabama and other places don't have major corporations. Guess what they do? They don't have the big sports fans. I mean, not fans, but they don't have the sports franchise. They do it through college football.
Yes, indeed.
And they make so much money off our children. See, we need to start withholding ways that they make their money. Maybe there's a boycott. I don't even want to use the word boycott because many times when we say boycott, we feel like we are boycotting ourselves because we become too immersed in the American system that still haven't embraced us.
Not only that, the stigma that is attached to the word boycott. That's why, you know, when you were talking about when I said black on black crime and you corrected me and said, you know, we are rewriting the narrative. And we must be careful about the type of language that we use. So the boycott, you know, when people hear boycott, when they hear boycott, they see black and white pictures of people getting beat down with, you know, and sprayed down with billy clubs, and the dogs come out, and, you know, a lot of anger and tension and violence. So, you know, listen, I mean, we must take it upon ourselves to do for ourselves. That's the bottom line. Now, let me ask you this question about these candidates. Listen, man, and I'm like, let's just connect the dots. You got a man in real estate. He's a megalomaniac. He builds buildings. He builds. Keyword, build. Build. Keyword, build. So, do you think that this motherfucker is finna build a wall longer than the Great Wall of China and not get paid? Do you think that he's getting ready to do this and not fill his coffers and not get all his homeboys and cronies paid? Are we really that stupid? Are we really that stupid? Come on. And then the man owns casinos. But ain't nobody really just mob affiliation. I guarantee you, if I owned the mob affiliation, the first thing they would call me if I threw my hat in the ring was a gangster.
Well,
I guarantee you the first thing that they would say is he's a gangster. And then they're going to go and they're going to peel back the skin on all of my ties and the gangsters and all of the illegal money that I've made. Come on, people. Come on. We got to be really more critical in our thinking, in our analysis, in how we, you know, we're vetting these people or the lack of vetting.
Well, let's look at something when you said that about that example. Well, if Donald Trump could benefit off, you know, I remember Unseen, I was talking about something. He was at the TED. Who was that Unseen? Perry? Wasn't it Rick Perry Unseen?
Yes, sir.
And he said how you spell relief, and he said it was crisis. He spelled crisis, right? Right. So, you know, sometimes you create the crisis so you can have the you know, you create the disease so you can have the cure. You create the crisis so you can resolve the crisis financially. Like, how did we resolve? We rebuilt Iraq. Is that what we did? We rebuilt it. We blew it up and went over there and took all the money. What did we really do? Come on, you all. All that was hustle, and we know there was companies that benefited from it, but we didn't benefit. The only thing we did was we had to go over there and fight. And then when the veterans came back, I'm bringing it back home. And then when the veterans came back, they couldn't even get the benefits.
Man, they broken. These veterans are broken, man.
And they fight for the country. And that's what I'm saying to you all is, look at the specifics of what's happening in your community and see, asking these politicians, how do you address it? And the only way that you can stop it is either you're going to have to get them in their pocket or not vote for them. Right now, I believe we're voting for the lesser of 2 or 3 or 4 evils. That's my opinion. You can vote for whoever you choose. But just bear in mind that I don't think Donald Trump, when you said building the fence.
Well, you know what, and see now obviously y'all can tell who the diplomat is here. This is the refined diplomat. You know, this is the OG Big Brother. You know, this man. You know, this is a great man right here. I'm sitting next to. This man is traveled the world. He has devoted his life to people, to helping people. Starting with the people in the community that he looks like. You know, this man that taught at West Point, he taught at Harvard. This man that won an Essence Award. He's a well-traveled, well-versed brother. You know, I love him to death. He's a diplomat, but I'm not a fucking diplomat. I'm not a diplomat. Understand me. I'm just the truth teller. I'm going to tell it how I see it. If I'm wrong, prove it. So what I see right now is that we're not doing enough criticizing, and we're not putting shit in people's faces. You know, we just eat shit. That's what we do. We eat shit, and we get shit poured on our heads, and we get pissed on. But we're afraid, but we tiptoe around the people who are bringing this goddamn pain to us, and it's done.
Well, what you got to do with that, you all, solution to that is agenda. Now we have a national agenda for black youth, and I don't know if they're, next week sometime we can present that. But if you have an agenda and someone else has an agenda that affects us as a people that we can lay on the platform, it may even be a little late right now, but it won't hurt to at least attempt to do it. But if you don't have one, we need to be working one for ourselves, and the only way you can work it is work with groups that are already organized. If the groups aren't organized, it's going to be hard for us to be effective. So at the end of the day, we would be just like them if we finish arguing and going back and forth with you if we don't have any solutions.
That's right.
One of them is the platform. And you got to voice your opinion no matter how you feel. See, that's just it. But when we voice our opinion, we get categorized. We get put in search stages, the angry black man. But when the angry white man came forward, no one had a problem with that. That was him resisting against tyranny. He was fighting back against oppression. But we got to do the same for ourselves, you all. Because we always say, regardless of what people do to you, you got to be responsible for what you do for you. Somebody come and rob your house, they ain't finna come back and repay you. Anybody trying to give us no restitutions, we call it reparations. But everybody's afraid to mention that. Even President Barack Obama wouldn't even acknowledge the word of slavery. I thought at least under his tenure at the United Nations, we would acknowledge. But to acknowledge that we were enslaved and all these things actually happened would give us a foundation, at least for others, for us to get reparations. And for those of you who don't know it, we're getting very close to that anyway.
Definitely. Okay, Brother Khalil is telling us that we need to take a break.
Okay.
So we're going to take a break. Before we do, I want to mention to all of the callers that if you want to speak, then you press *6. It'll put you into the call queue, and then we'll take your question or we'll hear your comment. Okay, this is Brother to Brother with Amon Rashidi.
How's black, y'all?
It's your man Khalil Rashid of the Griot Nation. We're asking you to tune in and tune up every Wednesday at 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern to Brother with Amon Rashid, where we come together as men to discuss the important issues that need to be addressed within our community. Now let us be clear, the women are invited as well, because we already know that no nation rides the tide that is full. So dial in to holler at your man Amon Rashid at 605-562-3140. Access code 389-254-pound. Once again, that's 605-562-3140. Access code 389-254-pound. Every Wednesday at 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern on Brother to Brother with Amon Rashidi.
Let me come back. We back. We black in the building, black to the feeling, and black to the healing. And we black, you all black to the building, black to the feeling, black to the healing. Hey, y'all, I guess I'm getting comfortable with this thing right about now and kind of enjoying it. One of the things we want to say, you all, we're dealing with 2016, the election, what's happening right now, and everybody got their different opinion on what's happening. You got your own individual vote. You got to realize it wasn't until 1965 that we were even able to vote, and right now they're fighting against that as we speak today. So a lot of the rights that we fought in reference to civil rights have been eroded along the way, and obviously they've been ignored. If every 28 hours a young black male is killed and he's unarmed by a white officer, so that means that the people that we're paying our taxes to serve and protect us are killing us. Instead of being civilians, we're looked at as suspects first. So that doesn't matter whether you're a poor kid living in the projects or whether you're living in some big-time community, as I forget Henry Louis Gates was. And the response to that from our president was for them to sit down and drink a beer. How do you trivialize the people? That's trivialization at its height. So, we're still dealing with it now. You can go back now into Delaware and Alabama and Mississippi, and there's still black people who are being lynched. Yes, they are. Look it up. Yes, it's happening right now as we speak. And it wasn't 10 years ago. We had about 47 to 50 some odd churches that were being burned that we never identified who actually did it. So look, there are always issues that are happening in our community, but when you don't have a media of your own, you have no way of addressing it. So they seem like isolated incidents because you don't think it's happening to nobody else, when in reality, it's happening to everybody. And so I want to say one other thing. And whether you white, black, or Hispanic, if you are middle class, which there's a middle class illusion, white, black, or Hispanic, you're classified all in one group. We can individually call ourselves what we want to, but at the end of the day, you are the foundation by which the wealthy live. And as long as we fight and argue among ourselves and don't have an agenda among the working class people, the wealthy will always dominate us. That doesn't mean that black people shouldn't address their issues and whites shouldn't address theirs, and Hispanics shouldn't address theirs, or any other group that has issues. But we have to come together collectively, and we have to have a base of our own. When you come to the table of power, you got to have some of your own. The power to influence change in your community and be prepared to do it. And if my other brother from whatever culture has his, then we can embrace an ideology together. But if we come and fight and begging at the same time, you're not gonna get nothing.
No. You always say that you can't fight and beg at the same time. You've mentioned a couple of times about media, and I just wanted to put out there.
It's a branch of the government, so people didn't know that.
Yes, we're going to be doing a show soon on Black independent media, news cycles, trending, and its impact on politics and socialization. So, it's vitally important for those who don't understand that, we have our own media, that we control our own media, because as long as we don't have our own media and recognize the importance of Black media, then we will never be able to create the narrative. We'll never be able to write the narrative. I mean, and that is vitally important because, look, if you are letting somebody else dictate what topics are put on the table, if you are allowing someone else dictate what is priority, then what you find, where you find yourself is in the back of the room or not in the room at all. So, from a standpoint of being able to deal with the issues that we face, Black media is very, very important. It's extremely important because
I want to add to that.
And I'll say, for example, I spoke with a young lady last night, and she has an organization that is devoted to mothers against police brutality. Now, this lady lost her son 3 years ago in the city of Dallas. And in the city of Dallas, there have been numerous killings by the police against Black citizens. But it very seldomly makes headline news. So when we reconnect with this lady, we're going to lay out all of these different we're going to give a play-by-play on all of the different killings that have occurred right here in our city. But if we don't have media, if we don't have a media outlet or a platform, then that never comes to the surface. And if you don't have an issue that is on the forefront, then it makes it that much more difficult to galvanize people and mobilize people around that issue, and then those people go forward and take a stand. So that is the importance of Black media. And man, we need our people. We need I'm talking about people who are in their 30s and 40s and got children coming out of college. I'm seeing a lot of this foolishness and ridiculousness. You're showing your ass on Facebook. You got your shirt all ripped off and all. Hey man, listen, we need to get serious about the business of saving lives. We need to get serious about the business of creating a structure, creating an empire where we can thrive.
Well, because media is a branch of the government, for those of you who don't know that. And it's not just a machine. There's a reason why people invest billions into marketing, or if you would, anything that's out here when it comes to advertisement, because the propaganda works. Because you can addict people to certain habits and then address their habits with certain solutions that they have to pay for through you. You indoctrinate people through the whole system of operations that you created. Anywhere there is a system, you're being indoctrinated to go a certain direction. So you need to have a perspective on how those things affect you. If you don't have your own unique perspective, someone is giving you a perspective, even if it's not yours. So that means that somebody is making a diagnosis on something that ain't happening to me. In other words, you're mislabeling me. So you think that our problem is just too much crime. Crime is only systematic to something else, you all. We know that 0 to 8, we call it internalization. You can get 20 PhDs, but you'll never learn as much as you learn from infancy to your 8 years of age. How to walk, how to talk, what a woman is, what a boy is, what a girl is, what love is. Even words like niggas and terminology that you use will become norms if you use it enough around that youngster. So if there's certain things that you're not doing, your children will notice that and manifest that as they go forward. If they're using the media machine, then how they act and think and how they dress is based on propaganda. They tell you what's popular, and then they condition you to follow it. And I believe that we have to take back control of that. And the only way we're going to do is independence. Things like Periscope, what we're doing right now, and continuing to move on these platforms. But at the end of the day, back to what we're talking about in election,